You touched on the DJ world and how lonely it is. And last week we lost a super talented young man, Tim Bergling, aka Avicii. To see someone like that, it really does shine a light on how tough it is out there, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's as someone who's like dealt with depression and I'm medicated, Zoloft for the win, and it's tough. It's tough when because you're in a world where you're surrounded by people all the time, and there's always a party and everyone's always excited, but you're by yourself and you're kind of more like the puppeteer than anything else. And it gets really lonely because at the end of the night you're in your hotel room and it's still like really loud in your ears, and it's just, unless you have other things, I think, that can really like get you out of your head, I think it's a pretty tough lonely existence because you're constantly surrounded by drunk, high, whatever people who aren't necessarily genuine, and you're an artist at the same time, so you're like this weird fragile thing that's just like, it's an interesting balance. It's really hard to find. It, I think, takes a really long time to figure out, and unfortunately when you're that young and you haven't figured it out, it's slippery. I mean, look at AM. You know, he was doing that reality show and he was doing like a bunch of things like that, and I think that's when things kind of turned a little. He and I were like really, 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 really close for a very, very long time. And the last time we spoke was a week before he died. And we were supposed to have lunch the day that he died. And he was another one where you're just like, he was texting me and just talking about how who am I to be teaching these kids and doing this stuff with these kids? I didn't know he was getting high. So I was like, you're the one that's made it. You've done it. You got through this whole thing. And then I found out later that he was smoking crack. You end up in those situations where you're just like kind of like, it gets bigger than you. And it's easy to get lost, I think, at that point. There's a stigma on depression and addiction and all these things that is like something you're supposed to be embarrassed about. You look at Mariah Carey opening up about her thing now. And I think it's really important with somebody like Avicii to make sure that that message gets through to other kids, that like there are other options.